Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this LPB virtual premiere event. I'm Raymond Partsch III, and over the next 30 minutes or so, we will explore the film we just premiered, Flat Town, in more detail and depth. To help us do that, we're going to rely on Bryan Tucker, one of the filmmakers. Bryan, good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm good. Glad to be
Glad
here.
you're able to join us. Thank you so much. Also joining us for this roundtable discussion is the mayor of Ville Platte, the one and only Jennifer Vidrine. Mayor, good evening. How are you?
Good evening. Hello, everyone, and thank you for having us.
You look very festive tonight, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Go Bulldogs, go Trojans.
And and of course, we have to have the founder of the Tea Cotton Bowl, the one and only Dr. Tim Fontenot. Dr. Tim, good evening, sir.
How y'all doing? And hi back there in Ville Platte with all the Bulldogs and the Trojans, and represent my old team, McNeese State. Go Pokes!
They got a big game on Saturday there, Dr. Tim. Got to get
They
that
got a
win,
big game.
brother.
Hey, just playing after what they went through is great.
Absolutely, absolutely. I want to thank all of you for taking the time out to help us examine some of the absolutely fascinating themes covered in this short documentary. And I also want to remind all of our audience out there that if they have any questions whatsoever that they would like to ask, please feel free just to type them in the chat box, and we will try to get to as many of them as we can throughout this program. So just once again, you have any questions, just hit us up in the chat box and we'll try to get to them, as many of them as possible throughout tonight's program. And I think we can't start this discussion without first asking you, Bryan, how does a filmmaker in as far away as Seattle, Washington, of all places, decide to do a film about the Tea Cotton Bowl in Ville Platte, Louisiana?
Yeah, I would have never known about Ville Platte if it wasn't for a friend of mine, Christy Vidrine Bauman, who was living in Seattle at the time, but she grew up in Ville Platte. And she brought me back there to kind of investigate a story kind of relating to her family. And I just kind of really felt like connected to the town in a way. And I just kept meeting these characters and these people, hearing these stories. And that pretty much turned into 4 trips to Ville Platte over the course of 2 years. And that fourth and final one was just to film the Tea Cotton Bowl, because all the previous trips I kept hearing, you got to come back for the Tea Cotton Bowl. It's this crazy whole week-long kind of celebration that, you know, leads up to this football game. And I just kept hearing about it enough. So I was like, all right, I got to go back.
Wow. So you were already coming here and then just kind of organically happened, and you just so happened to come back on your 4th time, and you just so happened it was Tea Cotton Bowl week.
Yeah. And so my 3rd trip, I had invited a producer friend who I collaborate with a lot, Gavin P. Sullivan, who's from Seattle as well. He had accompanied me on the 3rd trip, where we were filming this Cajun music and French immersion language festival. Because someone, you know, from the town invited us to that. They're like, you got to come to this. So I was like, that sounds pretty cool. I mean, the Cajun culture and just the culture of Ville Platte in general just really appealed to me. And so Gavin came with me there. And then I think we had heard just more and more about the Tea Cotton Bowl on that trip. And so, yeah, we're like, all right, let's come back and let's just spend the week here and just capture everything that happens with, you know, with this football game and all of the things that lead up to it, because it's clearly an important event to this town.
I'm glad you brought up Gavin, because obviously you didn't make this film alone. He's been kind of your collaborator on this project of Flat Town. Tell us a little bit about how you guys work together and how you guys were able to tackle this project.
Yeah, he's you know, as a producer, he's just kind of there to kind of help organize the filming days, to help conduct the interviews, so I can kind of focus on, you know, the camera. I'm also doing the audio. But I think the most important kind of aspect of that collaboration is just have somebody who I trust in their storytelling ability, just to talk through the story, because when you're capturing all this footage and you're meeting all these people and those people are kind of like, oh, you should go talk to this person, you should go film this, you can get kind of like, I guess, discombobulated, like, where should I go with this? And so to have somebody that just kind of centers you on, like, all right, what story are we telling? How does that fit in this story? Just he was with me through the whole kind of edit process. I would put together like a cut and then give it to him, and he'd give me feedback. And so it was just valuable to have somebody to just kind of collaborate with through that.
Mayor Vidrine, this
Yes.
film that obviously Gavin and Bryan put together does not shy away from the fact that the town itself faces some really critical, serious issues when it comes to race relations. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that, kind of elaborate a little bit about that, since you've been the mayor for so long and you've seen it firsthand?
Yes, we've had some problems before, and that's why the Tea Cotton Bowl was so important, because it brought the issue of race relations to the table. And it's amazing how this football game for the city of Ville Platte is the epitome of not only sportsmanship, but fellowship. That week, all of Tea Cotton Bowl week, it's nothing but fellowship, love, sportsmanship, blacks, whites, coming together, having a good time. We're betting with each other, we're challenging each other. But at that one point, that 1 week out of the year, it's like e pluribus unum, out of many, one. We all come together as one city, one school, until the whistle blows on Friday night at 7:00, and then there are the Trojans, and then I'm back to being a Bulldog. But even the mayor mobile is half purple and white, is half Trojan colors, and we're all together on that day. And it's amazing that we are all together. We are better together than we are apart. And it's simply because if we just sit down and have the hard conversations. I'm part of an organization that former mayor of New Orleans started, Mitch Landrieu, E Pluribus Unum, out of many, one, that tackles race relations. And this is exactly what our Tea Cotton Bowl accomplished. And the most beautiful thing you see is the night before at the banquet, when the Trojans and the Bulldogs are sitting together. There's a Trojan, there's a Bulldog, there's a Trojan, there's a Bulldog. And that night, they're all one. They're all one team, loving each other. And just like we said in the movie, 15 years ago, we hated each other. Literally, the Trojans hated the Bulldogs hated the Trojans. And in case you didn't know, I'm a Bulldog. And the problem was, we really didn't know why. It was the schools, it was the football, but it necessarily wasn't the people. And when Dr. Tim found that this Tea Cotton Bowl program, it brought us all together, and we found out then that we were more alike than we were different. I mean, that entire week, there's tailgating going on. It's nothing like it. There's tailgating going on all over the city, purple and white everywhere, blue and gold everywhere. Everybody's saying, go Bulldogs, go Big Blue, go Trojans. We're betting with each other, and I take on bets from everybody. I've lost some and I've won some, but it's still fun to see that people of different colors, black school, white school, public school, private school, we come together as one. And for that week, we put race aside, but we also know that if we keep doing that, we can always keep race aside and look at people's hearts and people's personalities instead of just race. Because I think if we just have the hard conversations, as we do in Ville Platte, everything over food, sit down, make a gumbo, make a sauce piquant, and don't only talk about sports, but talk about the experiences of a Black person, the experiences of a white person. How does a white person feel when they're in a Black community? How does a Black person feel when they're in a white community? Talk about the individual experiences that everyone goes through, and we will all understand each other better. It's just a matter of starting talking the talk of races, and then we will find out how much we are alike more than we are different.
Dr. Tim, a quote that really stood out to me in this film, Flat Town, is you say to the players during a moment in the film that you make the world better. And it seems it's a very genuine moment from you, and it really stood out to me. Why do you believe this to be true so strongly? Why do you believe this to be true?
Because God gave us this game. I didn't think this would come out. We just thought, Jacob and I, my son, who was the co-founder of the game, we just thought it'd be a lot of fun. But Jesus took it and he kissed it. And God doesn't do anything in a small way. When we play, if we can get along and compete for the same thing, you know, these kids want to win. But if they understand that while winning is important, how you play the game, the respect you show, the effort you give, the sportsmanship you show is more important. We do make the world better, and God has given us a platform, particularly at this time, at this point in history. Mr. Bryan and Mr. Gavin's film is beautiful because look at the scene with the two little boys. I think the little black boy's name is Aiden and the little white boy's name is Sully, sitting on a dirt pile watching the game, and they're both pulling for their teams. But look, they go back to play with each other. I think one cool thing that maybe Mr. Bryan can elaborate on, when they came and filmed the banquet, right after the banquet, they noticed all the kids were around playing rock, paper, scissors. And the kids were having a great time. And that's the purity of the game. The game itself is pure. And if we in Ville Platte can do it, there's no reason the rest of the country can't do it. Right. And we have to work every single day. We can't just say, oh, we made it, we're not prejudiced. We're prejudiced. Everybody got prejudice. If it's not for color, it might be for economics. But to say there's no prejudice is a lie. But to say there's not people on both sides trying to make it better, that's a bigger lie from the pits of hell. If we keep trying to work every single day, like Vince Lombardi used to say, we're going to chase perfection, knowing full well we won't catch it, but in the effort we'll catch excellence. So this is what we do every single day to get better. And this game is a great example of that.
Absolutely.
Bryan, as a filmmaker, obviously you have a vision for your project. You have what you want your story to inform the viewers, what you want that story, how you want it to be told. But let me ask you this. What are you hoping the viewers take away from watching Flat Town?
Yeah, there's definitely a story you think going into it, you think you're going to capture this story. And then as you're into it, it's like, oh, okay, so this isn't like we thought. I remember we had to have kind of a, heart to heart with Tim that, we weren't going to be making kind of like a rah-rah film about the Teacotton Bowl, but like we were going to be trying to make a documentary, kind of appealing to journalistic standards. And so what Gavin and what was so compelling to us was just how, such a racially segregated football game could still be played and still be celebrated. And so we kind of went into it with the question that, in 2019, is this a good thing? Is this a good thing to celebrate? And so that was kind of the question we were trying to answer. And then just let the characters kind of, tell the story themselves in their own voices. And And so I think that's why it was really important for me when I heard about Grace Vidrine Sibley's story of desegregating Ville Platte High School in 1965. It was really important for me to get her in the film. And even though when I asked her, she's like, I got nothing to do with the Tea Cotton Bowl. She's like, I'll go and I'll cheer on the side, but my story is different. But we tried to kind of explain like, but it's also not, it's like, we're trying to tell the story of the town by way of the Tea Cotton Bowl. And you're an icon in this town for what you did. So I was really thankful that she was open with us to tell her story, because it does kind of inform like how things are the way they are today. And I know that's not just in Ville Platte, that's in so many towns throughout America. And so all I can say is in my time in Ville Platte, coming from a progressive city like Seattle, I mean, I feel like we have more problems with racism and segregation than even a place like Ville Platte does. They seem to me like far more comfortable kind of talking about it openly. And that was compelling to me. And so, yeah, I'm just thankful that, Tim, Jennifer, Grace, all the people that spoke with us were just open.
Bryan, a quick follow-up to that is race relations, and you mentioned it, how it's out in the open, discuss it. The mayor discusses it. Dr. Tim discusses it. A lot of people in the town themselves, they will have a very passionate, open discussion about that. Are you hopeful that this film will inspire other people throughout the country to do the same in their own towns?
In terms of like, what do you mean, a football game or like a?
Well, no, just talking about race relations in general. Well, watching this film and how people discuss race relations in their town, hopefully that will inspire them to do the same in their own hometowns.
That's always the hope, that you make a film and it, not only entertains, but it informs and it makes people think individually, but more importantly, it fosters discussion. And, I've always been trying to figure out like, how we can tell stories of, the fact that our communities across America are still segregated today. And a lot of it happens now by self-segregation. People live where they're comfortable living. But I do think it all kind of points back to our history. And then going back to Grace, I mean, she told me, every time she tells her story, she's risking something. She said, every time I tell my story, somebody gets mad because people kind of want to just move on. Like, yeah, we know that happened. We know that was horrible, what happened to you and all these other people, but let's move on. And so, my hope is that it's not true, that people don't get upset when someone like Grace shares her truth, but that we have to remember, like, this was not that long ago. Like all we have to do is for someone like me, talk to our parents or our grandparents, understand, how close that history is still with us today. So yeah, I mean, I definitely hope it makes people think and have discussion.
I want to go back to Mayor Vidrine, and Mayor, you're a champion of this game, just like Dr. Tim is, and a lot of people in the town are. But I guess my question to you is, I'm intrigued. Have you ever encountered any type of backlash, negative, in regards to the Tea Cotton Bowl? Any interaction with a resident or anything like that would be negative?
I never got any negative feedback about Tea Cotton Bowl. Everything was positive. Everyone that week loved the atmosphere that the Tea Cotton Bowl brought to Ville Platte, because racism was set aside. And I think what we did in Ville Platte in a football game can rocket up to the Capitol in Baton Rouge. It can rocket up to Washington, D.C., where they can see as a nation that if we just come together, we just need to sit down and ask the why questions and the because questions and have these types of conversations, and we can all find some middle ground. If we did it in a football game or with a football game, just think what we can do in Baton Rouge and in Washington, D.C., and as a nation, especially in the political climate that we're living in now. Let's forget about the R's and the D's and the independent and all the different parties, and let's just come together as human beings. And we can be not just one, but we could be one race, one people, all have in common to be better as a nation, as a city, as a state. But we must start talking. We have to start talking. We have to start talking in Ville Platte. We have to start talking in Baton Rouge, in Washington, D.C., all over the world, especially now because there is so much hate and so much evil that has trickled down over the last few years. I just don't want us to go back because Ville Platte has come so far. We have made so much progress, and I just do not want us to go back. And I say this on a daily basis. Let's not let what's happening in all over the world or in Washington, D.C., let's not let that trickle down back to Ville Platte, because that's not who we are. That's not what we represent. We represent one another. You know, I can remember when Black people had to go through the back door, but this same city hall that I'm sitting in now as mayor, people used to have to come through the back door, and now everyone is coming through the front door. A Black person is sitting here as mayor. That's progress. And that's all because people began to look at people for their character and not the color of their skin. Because when I first ran for mayor, I'm the first Black, I'm the first woman. I ran against someone white, but people looked at the person. They looked at character. And I think that we can do that in all facets of our lives if we just look into hearts and stop looking at color and stop looking at race. It can be done. It's not impossible, but we must start having these hard conversations because we are so much better together than we are separately. And we have so much fun. I mean, Cotton Bowl is just fun, the way we just talk so much smack and we play with each other and we clown and we tell jokes and, you know, all until 7 o'clock. But when that 7 o'clock whistle blows, the Trojans on one side, the Bulldogs on the other side. I'm a Bulldog. But after the game is over, we all come back on the field. We said it's a good game. And I said to the boys, I say to the boys every game, during the game, you knock them down, you pick them up. That's the motto of the Cotton Bowl. Yes, it's a football game and you hit them and somebody falls, somebody has to be picked up. But either way, if a Trojan falls down, Bulldog, you pick him up. If a Bulldog falls down, Trojan, you pick him up. That is what sportsmanship is about. That is why it's more sportsmanship and it's more fellowship all in a football game. And this can all matriculate itself up into the human race and human beings.
Dr. Tim, I'll ask you the same question. Obviously, a ton of positivity, a lot of great moments. You being honored, the bowl itself being honored by the New Orleans Saints, by Tony Dungy, so many different people. But have you experienced anything negative, any type of negative backlash in regards to the bowl game?
About the third year, I got a anonymous letter in the mail. They had a dime in there, and it said, "This is what I used to get for picking cotton in your bowl, you know, for your bowl game." Well, if I would have known, I would have said, "Well, you good, because I only got a nickel when I picked for my daddy." You know, the cross was looked at a bad thing too, and Jesus transformed that cross into something great, and not a sign of torture, but a sign of redemption. You know, when we lost our game for 4 years because of prejudice and greed and love of power, you know, I had old white guys with crew cuts and coveralls come up, and I had young Black guys with dreadlocks and baggy pants came up to say, they asked the same thing. "Hey, Doc, how come we don't play?" It was a good thing. It was a good thing. So, no, you got to let the little stuff go off and just remember, like what the mayor said, we much better together than we are apart. And we need each other. Ville Platte, I think Ville Platte has an advantage over the big city. We couldn't live as good as we do without each other. We need each other. So it's been 99% good. And maybe that's just looking and just keeping a positive outlook. But when we put God first, he puts everything else in line. We play for Christ. That's why I do it. I do it to honor Christ. We honor him in a little way. He'll honor us in a big way. Every kid should play in a big game. This is a chance for all of our kids of our town to play in a big game of their career.
And
Well
Raymond,
said. Well said, Dr. Tim.
we
Well
must
said.
remember that racism is a learned behavior. It's an acquired behavior. We're not born racist. This comes from what you see or what you hear. So you have to not hear or not see the negative things. Look at the positive things, because anything that can be learned, it can be unlearned. And that's what I think we should strive for, so we can become a better people. Not necessarily just a better race, but so we can become better people at heart and just love one another. Because we know love will take us more places than hate and evil ever will. And it's amazing how if you just love someone, how we can overcome so many different difficulties in the lives and situations we have.
Like Dr. Chuck said in the film, love never fails. The Bible said love never fails.
Right.
I'm glad you brought up Dr. Chuck there, Dr. Tim, because I want to ask Mayor Vidrine something here, a little bit on a lighter note. During the particular bowl game, you and Dr. Aswell have a friendly wager there, Mayor. Can you care to tell us about some of the more humorous wagers associated with the T-Con Bowl, maybe in particular some ones that you've lost yourself?
Oh yeah, well, Dr. Chuck and I, we have an ongoing. The wager is ongoing. You know, he has to wear a purple and white shirt if we win all the week at the hospital, and I have to wear the big blue Sacred Heart shirt at City Hall and all the week in Ville Platte. And believe me, that is not easy, because when the Bulldogs see me in a Trojan shirt, that is like, man, what has happened? Have you forsaken us? No, I just lost the bet. I have had to buy steaks for everybody. As I said before, I've had a bet where I was going to have to walk the trophy from City Hall in high heels to Sacred Heart. Thank God we won that year. There are also, I've had to sing the Sacred Heart song. If I was going to lose, they had to sing the Bulldog songs. They had to say, I love the Bulldogs. Oh, it's amazing. That's where the fun. And then I would go on the radio and I would take all bets from anyone. That's how confident I am in the Bulldogs. Look, the Bulldogs can play the Saints and I will be for the Bulldogs. That's how and the Trojans feel the same way. So that's to show you how strong that whole week is with T-Cotton Bowl. But Tim,
you know, I was sitting in a press box at one time when the game returned back in 2017, and Sacred Heart won that game pretty handily. And the mayor was saying, "Oh, Bulldogs, Paul Bulldogs." He said, "Well, the Trojans won this one. She's a good sport. Hey, she don't mind wearing that Trojan one when it happens, and Dr. Chuck don't mind wearing the purple and gold, because they love all the kids together." Yes. They have their favorites. That's why I say sometimes we prejudice. She's prejudiced with purple and white. We might be prejudiced with blue and gold, but we all won together.
That's right. That's right. That's exactly right. I agree.
All right. Well, we have some questions here from some viewers. So the first one is for Bryan. And Bryan, I'm sure you know this. Ville Platte is known as the smoked meat capital of the world. They're known, the town is known for its food. So the question to you, brother, is what is the best thing you've eaten in Ville Platte?
Wow. I feel this is a lot of pressure, because the mayor she's gonna criticize if I don't say it right. But actually, I don't remember what it's called, but I had the privilege to film a boucherie, and it was like a live, a pig was butchered, and it was like cut up and prepared within hours by this whole community of folks. And it obviously doesn't appear in the film, but one of the many dishes they created was this stew, and it was like the best stew I'd ever had. I was just like,
Backbone stew.
Backbone stew.
Yes.
Backbone stew.
Yeah.
We know.
We know.
I'm going to say the weirdest thing that I tried was crackling, which is what? Fried pig's fat?
It's fat.
Pig
It's
skin.
fat, fried, and fat.
Yeah, it's fat, fried, and fat. That was about the craziest thing I ate.
You know, Sager, this game at the Cotton Bowl, we have the only game where they had an actual boucherie at the game.
Right.
Nobody else can claim that.
And don't forget our boudin and the cracklings and our sauce piquant and our Boston butt. Now, speaking of barbecue, you know, we have the best barbecue sauce in the world. It's called Jack Miller's barbecue sauce. Barbecue sauce so good, you don't need the barbecue. You just slap it on a slice of bread and you're ready to go. That's how good our food is. We have the friendliest people in the world and we have the best food in the world, even better than New Orleans. I will say that every day of the week. That's how good our food is. And that's another reason that we come together, and that food, just food, a football game can bring people together where they're not talking or they're not thinking about race and hatred and evilness. It's all just good, clean, fun, people coming together.
Sounds like you're going to have a bet with Mayor Cantrell down in New Orleans on your hands now, Mayor Vidrine. I hope you're ready for that.
It's on right now. Mayor LaToya, I'm challenging you right now. I did get the former mayor, Mitchell Landrieu, to admit when he was in Ville Platte that our food was better than New Orleans. So I'm going to challenge Mayor Cantrell to do the same thing.
All right, let's wrap it up. Let's wrap it up with this, and I want to ask each one of you, Bryan, Dr. Tim, and Mayor Vidrine, this same question. I'd like to get your feedback here. You know, what about sports as a path towards unity? I mean, when most of us think about sports, it's about the competition or taking down the opposition, if you will. Do you believe in your heart that sports can be a path towards real unity in the community? I'll start with you, Bryan.
I think it really can if it's handled right. And I think the way, I'll say that what I saw in Ville Platte, the time and the planning that goes all before the football game, the days up before, you know, obviously like the two teams coming together to have a meal. And like Tim said, you know, they were just playing these fun games, just like on the fly. And I really saw the camaraderie. I don't think it can happen just by playing a game and then like shaking hands afterwards. Like it's got to be more than that. And I think that the Cotton Bowl does a good job of doing that, of creating those situations to actually foster, you know, community and you know, relationship among the teams, because it's not going to happen on the field. That once you get on the field, it is about competition. It's about who's going to win.
Dr. Tim?
Definitely. Just like my good friend Mel LeCount, who wrote the book Sharpened Iron about the Cotton Bowl. Iron sharpens iron. We make each other better both on and off the field. It definitely can be, but like Bryan said, it just can't be it just doesn't happen. And this game, like I said, God blessed it. It's great. But we want people to imitate us. So call Fontenot Physical Therapy, 363-009-5. If anybody's interested in trying to do something or for the game or to imitate the game, call up. I'll be glad to answer any questions about it.
All right, Mayor Vidrine, you get the last word on this. Can sports bring a community together, unify a community?
Yes, I think so. I think if the passion and the enthusiasm that sports sports fans have in the stadium and the love for the game, if they would take that out of the stadium, don't stop when the game is over, but take it out of the stadium, take it into the community, I think, yes, it's a start. We have to start somewhere. And just like we can do it in Ville Platte, I think people can do it everywhere else. So that's why we will say, Bulldog Nation, Trojan Nation, go Bulldogs and go Big Blue and go Ville Platte. So if we can do it, everyone can do it, because love is the key, and we can start with a game, whether it's football, basketball, soccer, you name it. If it's sports, let sports lead to love, and let love lead to ending the racism that we have in our nation, so we can all become just one people.
Well, that's going to wrap things up for us here. I want to again take a moment to thank our panel for joining us tonight. Dr. Tim Fontenot, of course, the co-founder of the T Cotton Bowl, also Ville Platte Mayor Jennifer Vidrine, and of course, filmmaker Bryan Tucker. Thank you so much for all of you putting this project together and sharing it with the world.
Thank you, Mr. Raymond.
Go T Cotton Bowl! Woo!
Thank you.
Real South Series premieres on LPB next Thursday with the broadcast premiere of Flat Town and another documentary short, Uni, a love letter to the game of golf told by black caddies turned players at a golf course in Asheville, North Carolina. Major funding for Real South was provided by the National Endowment for the Arts, the Center for Asian American Media, and South Arts. LPB has another virtual event coming up on April the 12th, a sneak peek at the independent lens series, Philly DA. That will include a discussion about criminal justice reform in Louisiana. For more details, please go to www.lpb.org. Thank you once again for joining us, and good night.
Night.
Go Pokes.